When Angelina Jolie hit the red carpet for the 2024 Governor's Awards, all eyes were on her. But it wasn't just her stunning look that had people talking. It was her teenage son, Knox Jolie Pitt, standing tall beside her. Many were shocked by how much he had changed. He's no longer the little boy everyone remembers. Now he's nearly as tall as his famous mom, and his quiet confidence is hard to miss. And it's not just his height that's turning heads. From creative projects to helping his community, Knox is stepping into his own spotlight. But Knox's transformation didn't happen overnight. To truly understand how he got here, let's take a closer look at his journey, and how life with famous parents shaped his path. How it all started. Angelina and Brad's love story. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's relationship started while filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith in 2005. Angelina once said she fell for Brad during the shoot but made it clear she wasn't interested in an affair. She explained, "To be intimate with a married man when my own father cheated on my mother is not something I could forgive." For months, the two stayed quiet about their relationship. It wasn't until January 2006 that Angelina confirmed they were expecting their first child together. That moment officially introduced the world to Brangelina, the nickname the media gave them. During their 12 years together, Angelina and Brad became one of Hollywood's most glamorous couples. They traveled the world, worked on films, and built a big, beautiful family. By April 2012, they were engaged. Just 2 years later, they tied the knot in an intimate ceremony at Château Miraval in France, a place that would later hold many family memories. Angelina even changed her last name to Jolie Pitt. But the fairy tale didn't last. In 2016, after just 2 years of marriage, they separated. Angelina filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. It wasn't until 2019 that they were officially declared single. Even with the breakup, their biggest bond remained their 6 children, 3 biological and 3 adopted. And among them were the famous twins, Knox and Vivian, welcoming the twins, Knox and Vivian's grand arrival. In early 2008, the world started buzzing with pregnancy rumors. Angelina hadn't officially announced anything, but her growing baby bump at the Independent Spirit Awards told the story. Then, actor Jack Black accidentally spilled the beans during an interview. Jolie was expecting twins. On July 12, 2008, Angelina and Brad welcomed their fraternal twins, Knox Leon and Vivian Marceline, in Nice, France. Knox arrived first, weighing 5.3 pounds, followed by his sister Vivienne just a minute later. The world couldn't wait to see the babies. In fact, the first photos of the twins were sold to People and Hello magazines for a record-breaking $14 million. It was the most expensive celebrity photo deal ever. But Angelina and Brad didn't pocket the money. They donated every penny to the Jolie Pitt Foundation. The family spent that summer at Château Miraval in Provence, soaking in the quiet moments away from the spotlight. Brad once called their household a cuckoo's nest, while Angelina described it as chaos. But it was the kind of chaos they loved. The older kids, Maddox, Pax, Zahara, and Shiloh, stepped up as little helpers, picking out clothes and even helping with diaper changes. "It's sweet, they are little mommies," Angelina shared. And even though Knox was born into Hollywood royalty, his early years were surprisingly low-key. Speaking of which, Knox Jolie Pitt wasn't just given a random name. His first name, Knox, was a tribute to Brad Pitt's grandfather, Hal Knox Hillhouse. Brad and Angelina wanted something meaningful, and Knox felt like the perfect choice. As for his middle name, Leon, it has a French touch. Brad explained that Leon is a classic French name, which made sense given that Knox was born in France. His twin sister, Vivienne Marceline, also got a name with deep family roots. Her middle name honored Angelina's mother, Marceline Bertrand, who had passed away from cancer just a year before Vivienne and Knox were born. From the very start, it was clear that Brad and Angelina wanted their kids to carry pieces of their family history. But that was just the beginning of Knox's story, a quiet childhood away from the spotlight. Despite being born to 2 of the most famous actors in the world, Knox's early life was surprisingly private. While some celebrity kids enjoy lavish parties and big celebrations, Knox's first birthday was nothing like that. In July 2009, he and Vivian turned 1, but instead of a flashy Hollywood bash, they had a simple, family-centered celebration. According to Digital Spy, the highlight of the day was the homemade birthday cake. And it wasn't made by a fancy baker, but by their older siblings. Maddox, Pax, Zahara, and Shiloh all pitched in, making sure the twins had a special treat. And surprisingly, there were no photos from that day. Brad and Angelina kept those moments to themselves, choosing privacy over publicity. It was clear they wanted their kids to enjoy a normal childhood, even if normal looked a bit different for the Jolie Pitts. But every now and then the world got a peek into Knox's life. In December 2010, just a few months after his second birthday, the paparazzi caught the family during a day out in New York City. Brad and Angelina were juggling baby duties like pros, Angelina holding Vivian while Brad carried Knox. The twins, bundled up in winter clothes, looked like any other kids enjoying a day with their parents. But there was one thing that stood out. Even as a toddler, Knox had a cool style. He wore a fuzzy black sweater over an all-black hoodie, giving off serious mini Brad Pitt vibes. It was clear he was already starting to develop his own personality. As Knox grew older, it became clear he had inherited more than just his parents' good looks, following in famous footsteps. Brad once told people, "Knox, he's a bit of me. He likes music like his dad." While Vivian leaned more toward Angelina's elegant style, Knox showed an early interest in music. It wasn't surprising given Brad's love for playing guitar and listening to classic rock. But music wasn't Knox's only creative outlet. In 2016, he got his first taste of the movie world, not as an actor on screen, but as a voice actor. Knox voiced Cuckoo, one of the triplets in Kung Fu Panda 3. He wasn't alone in the project, though. His siblings also joined in, turning it into a fun family experience. But according to Angelina, none of the kids were too eager about acting. She told Entertainment Tonight, "They don't really want to be actors, but I didn't want them to miss the opportunity. They came in, and they had a lot of fun with it." Later, when the chance came to make cameo appearances in Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, Knox and his siblings passed. "None of my kids want to be actors," Angelina told People in 2019. "They're into business, humanitarian affairs, things like that." So while Knox clearly had the talent, he seemed more interested in exploring other passions, and one of those passions was learning new skills, like sign language, a life of quiet confidence. In 2016, Angelina appeared on BBC Radio 4's Women's Hour, where she talked about how each of her kids had developed their own unique interests. For Knox, that included learning sign language. "I asked them what languages they wanted to learn," Angelina shared. While Maddox chose German and Russian, Pax focused on Vietnamese, and Shiloh picked Khmer, the Cambodian language. Vivian wanted to learn Arabic, while Zahara went for French. And Knox? He chose sign language. It was clear that even as a child, Knox was curious about the world. He wasn't just following in his parents' footsteps, but carving his own path. That same quiet confidence showed whenever he stepped out in public. In April 2013, for example, Knox was spotted in New York City with his mom. But instead of shying away from the paparazzi, the almost 5-year-old met them with a smile. While Angelina attended the Women in the World Summit, Knox seemed completely unfazed by the flashing cameras. Fast forward a few years, and Knox started stepping away from the spotlight. After attending red carpet events for First They Killed My Father and Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, he seemed to prefer a more private life. In 2021, he joined Angelina for the London premiere of Eternals, but after that, he mostly stayed out of the public eye. Angelina later told E! News, "My kids are especially shy. They want to be private." But did you know that while Knox Jolie Pitt might not be chasing an acting career, he did have a moment in Hollywood? Hollywood beginnings with Kung Fu Panda. In 2016, he voiced Cuckoo, a little panda in Kung Fu Panda 3. It was a small role, but a fun one. And he wasn't alone. 3 of his siblings also joined the project. Angelina Jolie, who voiced Tigress in the movie, explained how it happened. "They were kind of shy," she told ET, "but I didn't want them to miss the opportunity. It wasn't about turning them into child stars, but letting them experience something new and exciting." During an interview with Today, Angelina shared how serious they were about it. "They came in and said, 'I'm not sure if I can do this,' and then to talk them through it, they really took it seriously as a job and wanted to get it right." But Angelina made one thing clear. She didn't want her kids to grow up in the spotlight. "I hope not," she laughed. "We've always said if they're going to be actors, we want them to do something else first and then come back to it." And it seems Knox took his mom's words to heart. He didn't stick with acting. Instead, he found other passions, away from the cameras. While Knox enjoyed his Kung Fu Panda experience, it didn't spark an interest in acting. Instead, he turned his attention to technology and creativity, a tech genius in the making. According to Woman's Day, Knox dreams of becoming a tech engineer. A source shared, "Knox is interested in developing software and exploring tech-based projects. But that's not all. Knox also enjoys art. In fact, some of his drawings have been turned into jewelry. It's clear he inherited his parents' creative side, even if he's expressing it in his own way. He's also shown an interest in languages. In 2016, Angelina appeared on BBC Radio 4's Women's Hour, where she talked about how each of her kids had picked a language to learn. "I asked them what languages they wanted to learn," Angelina explained. While Maddox chose German and Russian, Pax focused on Vietnamese, and Shiloh picked Khmer, the Cambodian language. Vivian wanted to learn Arabic while Zahara went for French. And Knox? He chose sign language. It was a unique choice, but one that showed his thoughtful personality. While many kids might pick a spoken language, Knox wanted to learn how to communicate with those who couldn't hear. It was clear he was developing a personality all his own, separate from the fame surrounding his family. And while Knox enjoys quiet hobbies like tech and art, he's also developed a love for sports, from hobbies to the boxing ring. In July 2024, paparazzi snapped photos of him carrying boxing gloves into a gym. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. Not long after, videos surfaced online showing Knox training in the ring. In one TikTok video, he was seen practicing his form with a sparring partner. The video didn't have a date, but Knox looked much younger than he did during his appearance at the 2024 Governors Awards. Boxing might seem like a surprising hobby for someone who usually stays out of the spotlight, but it fits with what we know about Knox. He's independent, focused, and not afraid to try something new. Outside the gym, Knox has kept his life pretty private. While his siblings like Shiloh and Zahara often make headlines, Knox seems happy to stay in the background. Even his red carpet appearances have been rare. He did join Angelina for the premieres of First They Killed My Father and Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. But after attending the Eternals premiere in 2021, he seemed to step away from public events. That changed in November 2024. Knox surprised everyone by walking the red carpet with his mom at the Governors Awards. Angelina was being celebrated for her film Maria, and Knox stood tall beside her, looking almost unrecognizable from the little boy everyone remembered. Family ties and personal choices. While Knox has a strong bond with Angelina, his relationship with Brad Pitt seems more complicated. After Brad and Angelina's split, things reportedly became strained between Brad and his children. According to People, Knox and Vivian were the only two kids Brad was in contact with, and even that has been minimal lately. A source told the Daily Mail, Knox wants nothing to do with Hollywood and has no communication with Brad. The ongoing legal battle between Brad and Angelina hasn't made things easier. Of course, it bothers him that Angelina has turned them against him, the source added. They didn't even get a chance to make up their minds about him. But while his relationship with Brad might be distant, Knox's bond with Angelina remains strong. She once said, "They are the closest people to me in my life. We're 7 very different people, which is our strength." As for his last name, Knox still goes by Jolie Pitt. While his older sisters Shiloh and Zahara dropped Pitt from their surnames in 2024, Knox hasn't followed their lead. Even his twin sister Vivian seems to be moving away from the family name. She was recently billed as Vivian Jolie while working on The Outsiders. Now the question is, does Knox still see Brad Pitt? Knox Jolie Pitt's relationship with his father, Brad Pitt, seems distant these days. According to People magazine, Knox and his twin sister Vivian are the only Jolie Pitt children who still have contact with Brad. But even that contact seems rare. Knox hasn't been publicly seen with Brad for over a decade. Brad's busy filming schedule also keeps him away from home for long stretches, making father-son bonding even harder. It's clear the relationship isn't what it used to be. Things are even more strained with Brad's older kids. Pax, Brad's second eldest son, made his feelings very clear back in 2020. On Father's Day, Pax posted a harsh message aimed directly at Brad. "You time and time again prove yourself to be a terrible and despicable person," he wrote. "You have no consideration or empathy toward your 4 youngest children who tremble in fear when in your presence. You will never understand the damage you have done to my family." The post ended with Pax calling Brad a effing awful human being. It was clear the relationship had broken down completely. Despite the tension, Knox seems to stay out of the drama. He quietly lives his life, keeping a low profile and spending most of his time with Brangelina and his siblings. While Knox prefers to stay out of the spotlight, he couldn't avoid attention at the 2024 Governors Awards. The moment he stepped onto the red carpet with his mom, fans were shocked by how much he had grown. Knox's surprising recent transformation. Knox, now 16, stood taller than Brangelina, who wore heels that night. According to IMDb, Brangelina is just under 5 feet 7 inches tall. With her heels adding about 3 inches, that puts her around 5 feet 10 inches. That means Knox is likely between 5'10" and 5'11", and he might not be done growing. After all, his dad, Brad Pitt, stands at 5'11". Some fans even joke that Knox could soon eclipse his famous father in height. Of course, Knox's twin sister, Vivienne, might not be far behind. The Jolie Pitt genes are strong, and it seems both twins are growing up fast. Height aside, Knox's appearance also sparked a lot of buzz online. Fans couldn't decide if he looked more like Brangelina or Brad. On Reddit, one user wrote, "I think this is the first picture of Knox I've seen in years. Wow, he looks so grown up and a spitting image of Brangelina." Another agreed, saying, "Angie has strong genes. It seems like all of her bio kids favor her." But not everyone thought Knox looked just like his mom. Some saw more of Brad in him. "Knox is all grown up, looks just like a young Brad," one fan tweeted. Others thought he was the perfect mix of both parents. "A perfect blend of his parents. It's crazy how beautiful their kids are," wrote another user. Even the humor wasn't left out. One fan joked, "Brad Pitt, you are the father," referencing the famous line from the show Maury. Whichever parent Knox takes after, one thing is clear. He's grown into a confident, striking teenager. And while he's not chasing fame like his parents, moments like the Governors Awards remind everyone just how fast time flies. Knox's transformation has definitely turned heads. From a quiet child to a tall, confident teenager, he's carving his own path away from the Hollywood spotlight. While he keeps his life private, moments like the Governors Awards show just how much he's grown, not just in height, but in presence. What do you think about Knox's transformation? Do you believe his bond with Brad will ever be as strong as it once was? Or has Brangelina's close role in his life shaped his path for good? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more such stories.